This is 3.4 imaginary numbers, or you might have also called them complex numbers. Okay, the first thing I want to do is go over here and see if y'all remember what the letter I means. And I is for imaginary numbers. So I is the square root of -1. And if I were to square that, I would have -1. I cubed is going to be -I. I to the 4th is 1. Now, realistically, if you memorize these 4 right here, you would be good to go if you just memorize these 4. Because if I go up here to I to the 5th, break this down into I to the 4th times I. So the square root of -1 times times 1 would give you I. Then I to the 6th is 2 of these. So I to the 3rd times I to the 3rd is I to the 6th. So -1 times -1 gives you a positive I squared, and that is -1. So I'm back up here to 1 squared. And I can do one more. I to the 7th is the same thing as saying I to the 4th times I to the 3rd. So you're basically multiplying these two together, and that should give you -I. Let's try to solve this. It's simple and easy. X to the 4th plus 4 equals 0. This gives you x to the 4th equals -4. And if I square root both sides, this gives me x equals, I can square root a negative number now since I'm working with imaginary numbers. And this gives me a positive and a negative 2 and I. Now, I did this easy problem for a reason. You get a positive and negative number right here because you are solving. And that is the only time you're going to get a positive and negative number. All right, if I were to graph, it's a parabola, shift it up right here. So if I were to ask you how many, let's see, how many x-intercepts does this problem have? You could answer none because it doesn't cross the x-axis at all. All right, some other things I want to kind of throw in is this right here, a plus bi. You're going to be seeing a plus bi, and the a and the b represent real numbers, and the I is your imaginary number. So this is your complex number because it has the I in it. All right, let's solve some problems, and I went ahead and set them up on my paper so it'd go faster. So the first one is 3 plus 5i. I'm going to subtract 4 minus 2i. So I'm going to distribute that negative. That gives me a 3 plus 5i. I'm going to subtract 4, and that gives me plus 2i. Now I'm going to treat that I like a variable, so I can put those two together. So it's going to give me a -1, and that's going to be plus 7i. And usually put your I second. That's why I showed you the a plus bi. That would be the format. So here's my complex number. Now I'm going to double distribute. So I'm going to do the 2 times everything here. So this would be an 8. This would be minus 2i. Distribute the 3i times everything. So this would be plus 12i. And this would be minus 3i squared. Now with this 3i squared, this I squared right here is a -1. So really, I could cross this out right here, and this is plus 3. So I have 8 plus 3 right here. This is going to give me 11, keeping it in the same format. And -2 and a positive 12 gives me the 10i. When you have I to the 23, I can break this up. And you could go I to the 1, to the 2, to the 3, and kind of get up to 23. You remember your exponents add. But I'm going to break this up into I to the 20th times I to the 3rd. Remember, adding your exponents gets you to the 23. Why did I go I to the 20th? This right here is a multiple of 4. And I know that anything is a multiple of 4. I'm going to go back. If I have a multiple of 4, then it's going to be equal to 1. any multiple of 4 is equal to 1. So this first one right here is going to be 1. And then I to the third was equal to negative I. So my answer is negative I. Again, memorizing those first 4 is going to be very helpful. Okay, let's try these right here. Okay, so for number 5, if you remember, when you have a problem like this, you're going to multiply by the conjugate. That means taking the bottom number and multiply by the opposite. So this would be 1 plus 2i over 1 plus 2i. Okay, so now I need to double distribute. So 3 times all of this gives me 3 plus 6i plus multiply 5i times everything. That gives me 5i plus 10i squared. On the bottom, 1 times everything gives me 1 plus 2i. And then negative 2 times everything gives me negative 2i and negative 4i squared. Remember, when you have I squared, that gives me a negative 1 times 10. So that's a negative 10 on top. Negative 1 here times negative 4 gives me a positive 4 here. Now I can go ahead and simplify. So on top, I have a negative 7, and I have plus 11i. On the bottom, I have a 5. Oh, and those cancel out. Okay, this could be my answer, but let's go ahead and simplify or separate these to make a better answer. So this would be negative 7 over 5, and this would be plus 11i over 5. This would be the best answer. Okay. I could multiply by 4i, but to get rid of this I could just multiply by plain Jane I. And let me show you why that happens. Okay, on top, when I distribute the I, that gives me a 7i and a 3i squared. Over, if you multiply 4i times I, that gives you 4i squared. Remember, the I squareds are a negative times 3, that gives you the negative 3. And this gives you the negative 4. So I've gotten rid of the I on the bottom, which is what we wanted. You would get the same answer if you multiplied by 4i as well. So this is going to give me a 7i minus 3 over the negative 4. This would be acceptable as an answer, but let's make it even better. And I'm going to switch it around to make my I second. So this would be negative 3 over negative 4 minus 7i over negative 4. Or I guess it'd be over 4. Let's see, let's make it even better. That would be 3/4 minus 7i over 4. That would be the best answer. All right, number 7. If you want to take the square root of negative 16, that is just simply 4i. There is no positive and negative because I'm not solving. Okay, just 4i. If I take square root of negative 3, you cannot take the square root of 3, so that would be square root of 3. And then the I is the negative 1. It would probably be best to put the I in front and then square root 3. All right, square root of 45. You're going to break that down, so that could be what? Square root of 9 times 5. So this would be the square root, 3, the I, and then square root of 5. That would be the best answer. This is negative square root 1 times negative square root 1, which is I squared, and that is negative 1. Okay, so you have negative 1, and then square root 2 times square root 3 is the square root of 6. So this is negative square root 6. Okay, on number 11, this is again just another double distribute. So this is 2 root 3. This negative root 3 is going to be I root 3's. We already factored that. Plain Jane 3 here. your negative root 4 is going to be just a positive 2i. Remember, it wouldn't be positive and negative unless you were solving. Okay, now we can double distribute. 2 root 3 times everything is going to be, let's see, that would be 6 root 3. That would be plus 4i root 3. Now let's do negative I root 3 times everything. So this is going to be negative 3i root 3. And then, let's see, negative 2i squared, squared root 3. Okay, anytime you have the squared, that's a negative 1. So this is really 2, just to help y'all out. So my final answer should be 8 root 3 plus I root 3, just combining like terms. So here's my 6 root 3 and plus my 2 root 3. And then these two together give me my I root 3. Okay, last one. It says solve for x, and I have this problem right here. So is there a number that I can multiply to get 5 and add to give me 4? Since I have no negative numbers, I cannot just factor. So how about we use the quadratic formula? Okay, so A is 1, B is 4, and C is 5. So that would be x equals negative 4 plus or minus b squared is going to be 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5, and that's going to be over 2 times 1. Let's simplify that. That's going to be negative 4 plus or minus 16 minus 20 is going to be negative 4 over 2. And I can simplify this to 2i. So this is negative 4 plus or minus, because I have a plus or minus here, 2i over 2. And remember, the best answer is to break these apart. So this is negative 4 over 2 plus or minus 2i over 2. And then, of course, this simplifies one more time to give me negative 2 plus or minus I. And that would be your final answer.